Very good. I think we're live. Wow, I'm reconnected. Well, hello, everybody again. Apologies for the Q&A with Lancs Cricket. We couldn't get a transmission across the Pennines by the sounds of it. They couldn't hear me, I couldn't hear them. But we are connected to London today with Andy O'Sullivan, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Welcome, Andy. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you, and thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Well, thanks for finding the time in the calendar. Amongst everything else that's going on, you're obviously not at the office today. You're at the stadium, or is that sort of a print you have in your lounge?
No, it's definitely not a print I have in my lounge. I would only wish for one like that. It's actually in our office, which is connected to the stadium. So we have a link bridge that goes from the office into the stadium, and I'm in our office.
So very good. You've been back at the stadium since, during the whole of lockdown, or have you been sort of working from home primarily?
No, been in every day during lockdown. We've used the last 30 days to ready the building and just work with our contractors to make sure that it's in A1 condition. I know it's a new building that hasn't maybe had as much use as people might have thought it might have had by now, but it's still, you'd be surprised. I mean, that's the size of a town, so you'd be surprised how quickly the wear and tear shows on it.
I'm sure. And what a baptism it's had as a new building. I think that's we're going to explore that during this session. It was late starting with construction, but then had a great sort of end to its first season and a great start to the second. How with a new building like this, I know that the money figures are always useful, but how do you measure a sort of KPI on a new stadium for you? You're venue director there. What are you looking at?
There's a few things, I think first of all, we built with the fan experience in mind, and a lot of venues that I've worked with over the years talk about that, say that that's what they want to do. And sadly, during construction phase, very often that's the sort of thing that gets value engineered out. And what we decided from the off was it had to be about the fan experience. It couldn't be about anything else. You can't guarantee the results on the pitch, so you've got to work hard with your building to make sure that you'll never take the emotion away when the home team loses, but you can certainly soften the impact if the fan experience is amazing when they come on a game day. So I think we survey 6,000 fans every game day, so we survey 10% of our audience on a game day. We're looking for we do below average, above average, great and excellent, and we're looking for 85% in the great and excellent. If we can't get that score, then we've got something wrong on the fan experience. And by doing 10% every game day, you end up probably only surveying your fans 3 times a year, which is not overkill, but it gives you a good indicator whether you're getting that right for the fans. So that's one of the first metrics. I think we've got not everyone knows it. If you're a Premier League club, you've got Visit Football, and Visit England and the Premier League have come together to set up a set of metrics. We're looking for a top 4 finish. That's kind of what we would expect, certainly on a new building, but also some of it's about how somebody comes to us on a day and it's their experience. But if you're finishing in the top 4, you're delivering a pretty good game day experience. And then I think one of the other key metrics for us is we have a section 106 where, for those that don't know, that's a local government rule, which is about how do you hold fans in your venue or in and around the area so that it eases congestion on the transport. So we were targeted with, we had to hold 15% of our fan base back for up to 45 minutes post final whistle. And for those of you that work in football stadiums, you'll know that that's a big ask. But for us, that's 9,000 fans. And I think, those metrics are really important to us. And only then do we then get into the commercial metrics. So we then have commercial metrics. In our catering world, we're looking for, when we did our business plan, we were looking for £5 spend per head. That would have been the highest in the Premier League. We were looking for roughly a £19-20 million catering turnover for the venue for the year. So we do have commercial measures as well. And we have, premium seats, season tickets, sponsorship metrics. But all of those are commercial metrics, whereas there's a danger if you don't have venue metrics, then you might be missing the point. It's a horrible phrase, but happy customers do spend more money.
And in terms of the survey, how are you surveying the fans? Is that through walk around questionnaires, through the app, or a mix of things?
We have an in-house analyst who manages that survey for us, and it just comes back in. We filter it, we work through the results, and what we'll do is we'll generally pick off the top 10 dislikes and say, right, how do we address that for the next game? And the reason why I want to do it every game is we don't wait until the end of the season to find out we've got a problem. If we've got a problem, let's find out early, let's address it. Because actually the next game, you're constantly improving. You can build an amazing venue, but without amazing staff or amazing products, it doesn't matter. It's just an amazing venue.
And without customers, it's quite a lonely place to be.
It is, and we found that out recently. So you can definitely, if you want to get your message across to the coach, you can.
Very good. And for those who have not followed it so closely, what was 2019 like in terms of a calendar? You managed a dozen games there.
Well, I mean, we opened up with 9 games in a short season, if you like. Funny enough, 9 games in 29 days. So we put ourselves under pressure for a brand new opening, which was fine, and that went relatively well. And then for the season just finished, 1920, we played all but 5 games, within the season at the stadium, and sadly we lost our concert season, and a couple of other events that we were looking to host. So COVID got the better of everyone in the end. But look, I mean, we saw enough. We had a full year's run. We saw enough in that year to know exactly what the venue was capable of, and where we could improve.
And during, I'm going to share some photos of the venue. It's rather stunning, and we can talk around that while we're doing this. Is that live? Yeah, great. So during lockdown, Andy, what were you doing at Spurs? You did some wonderful things for the community there.
Yeah, so we set up the basement car park as a drive-through test centre. So just trying to take some pressure off local government. And then we set up, strangely enough, our football medical facilities, we set up as a maternity outpatients clinic. Again, just trying to take the pressure off of our local hospitals, just to take some risk away from those that were expectant mothers, not wanting to go to hospital when it was a period, but it was quite a worrying time to go to hospital, right? So, so we kind of did that. Then there was also, we donated probably best part of just over £100,000 worth of unused stock from in the stadium to food banks, and really trying to help them and help the underprivileged. We're in a particularly poor part of London here in Tottenham, so it was important that we did our part. So and even beneath our offices, we sit as a board for the University Technical College we've got on site here, and they even made face shields for the NHS. So we put the whole club to work for the NHS for about 4 or 5, 6 month period, and I think it reconnected our whole community, made everyone start to work as one.
But this is what we've really missed, isn't it? The F&B. This is I know, very close to your heart and thinking. How has that performed in the new stadium on a regular event schedule?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think on a game day, we'd set ourselves £5 spend per head. We were averaging £7.60, so we absolutely knocked it out of the park. Wow. When we set ourselves up here, and we set ourselves up to be a £20 million catering business, we ended up delivering around about 26 million, and if we'd have got our season away, would have been north of 30 million. Brings new challenges, because I ran out of storage space. Because when you're cooking 50% more than you plan to, you got to work out where you're going to store it all. So I think one of your questions previously to me was, what would you have done different? If I'd have realised it would have been this popular, I'd have definitely given us more storage. And I think that the popularity comes from our pricing on F&B is comparable to the high street, not comparable to other venues. And what I mean by that is our fans, when we surveyed them, said, please don't treat us as hostages, please treat us as visitors. We'll pay a fair price, but it's got to be a fair price for a good product, and that's what we believe we've done.
And in terms of, there's been some press coverage on the ticketing, the ballot for the 1,000 fans you're hoping to get back in for the first game. Again, it looked like the pricing was, although pricey, it was on par with what a season ticket would cost per match.
So we got 2,000 fans back in the public areas. We actually took the average price of the stand, because we're putting them in our south stand, which is our home end.
Yes.
And the average price for the stand for that game is £65, and that's the price we've gone out at. And we've got concession tickets, obviously, for juniors and over 65s. But it's, it's not a window to make money. This is a window to get fans back. This is, if we get this right, money will come, right? So if you do the right things at the right time, money tends to follow.
I suspect there's very few stadiums of your size that can cover their operating overheads on 2,000 fans. What do you estimate your break even is? Sort of 15, 16,000 in?
Actually, believe it or not, it's less, because the way we've built the stadium, you can open up, provided you can only open one stand, you can manage your operating costs. So hence why we've built the way we have built. So actually, for us, we'll probably on 4,000, believe it or not, if we go from 2 to 4,000 with government, we get to a point of where we're breaking even.
That would be, what's your estimation in terms of a roadmap to that?
Best guess, I think, if we're all honest with ourselves, as much as we would, I'm a glass half full, so I tend to want to be more optimistic, but I think it's probably the spring, probably beginning of March. Doesn't feel like we will move, from the 2,000 we've currently got until, if we're lucky, late February, realistically probably March.
And then the summer calendar you've lost this year. The concerts, the boxing was planned, wasn't it? Has that all just moved to next year?
Well, the concerts they've just rescheduled into this summer, so we've retained those. The boxing goes because boxing is what it is. Doesn't mean to say they won't come back with a different fight, but the fight that was on the cards has now gone. And there are other events trying to schedule in. I think the music calendar is particularly tight, so they are looking for venues as and when they restart. But I think for other events, other sports, and the same for conference and events, people tend to just push back a year and set a new start date.
And are you finding that promoters are nervous about May and June dates, but feeling optimistic from July onwards, in the UK at least?
Yeah, I think so. I think some of the music promoters are hoping that April, May might be the start of things for them. And I think they could, but it would be relatively small audiences still. I'm not sure that would be financially viable for them. I do feel like from June, July onwards, you would like to think that be it a vaccination or ongoing testing is at a stage where it could accommodate much larger crowds.
And one of the highlights, I guess, has been the NFL. You've got some games in. Can you give us a bit of summary of how those went in terms of venue performance and feedback from them?
Well, I mean, I always think that the best feedback you can get is on the playing side is from the players themselves, and many players from the teams come out and say it's one of the best venues they've ever played at. So, and they included most of the US venues, which was lovely to hear, because what we wanted to do was make sure that any US team coming over felt at home. We wanted it to be their home. We didn't want it to be the home of Tottenham Hotspur. It had to be fit for purpose for them, whoever their home team was. And digital's allowed us to do that, and you can see on some of the visuals where we can change all the colour Pantones around the building. Anywhere where previously there might have been print material, we've put digital in. We've got 2,800 TVs in the building, which allow us to make the building anyone's home building. And for those that are counting, we've actually only got 5 cockerels on the building physically. So and that's all about making it their home. But I mean, it brought new challenges in. We've got a beer system in the stadium that we were comparing it to most European stadiums, and we thought that actually a beer system that could cope with maybe 30 to 40,000 pints a game would be a good beer system. And we're doing 60,000 pints for our own for our home Tottenham games. The NFL definitely challenged us. We put 101,000 and 108,000 pints of beer at the 2 NFL games. So new challenges, but challenges nonetheless that we were happy to take on. And it certainly put the beer and cellar system to the test, and it stood up. So that was the positive.
The joys of an all-day event, and the pitch held up very well.
Yeah, the pitch held up well. I mean, obviously it's a new pitch. We'll tweak it again this year to make sure that it meets with what the NFL would like it to do. But a lot of the feedback was it was a fast pitch, which the players like. So sorry, I'm not a pitch technician. I couldn't tell you why we made it a fast pitch. Just the feedback from the coaches and the players was it was a fast pitch. They really enjoyed playing on it. And actually, one of the big things for them, and you might have seen it on the video reel there, that the home locker room is about 4 times the size of our football home locker room. So
enormous.
So it makes a very big difference. I mean, that was a pleasant surprise for the American teams, because they were expecting to come and find a traditional soccer locker room rather than an NFL football locker room.
They could fit in it. Quick question, Stephen Cardle, Andy, what changes will you make to food service post-COVID, if any? Will you go back to doing things how you did them, or will we've stay in place?
We've made some changes already. So we are this weekend we're putting food through an online app where every visitor to the stadium, again because of the technical capability of the building, we're able to give everyone the connectivity and the bandwidth they need to actually be able to use their phones in the stadium. At any one time since we've opened, we've only actually had 26,000 phones on our system trying to stream or download. So the good news is, again, the system holds up. I'm not quite sure if all 63,000 tried to go at the same time, whether that would work or not, but we'd hope it would, that's for sure. But yeah, so we're really pushing towards app-based food and beverage service. We did a screening recently and tested a number of our systems where all the service was to table, which in premium is fine. We can do that. In GA and the public area is a little bit different, because clearly we don't have the tables and the seats in those spaces. So I saw this week that the EFL were lobbying government about drinking in the bowl. I think we would support that. It's the most obvious place to take your food and beverage and go and consume it, right? So, but yeah, we've definitely made some changes. Serve to table in premium primarily, and really strong app focus, and pushing as many people to order via the app so we can deal with social distancing in the queues.
Fantastic. Andy, we're out of time. I want to say thank you for fitting us in the schedule. I know you're busy there prepping the building. Long may you have a very good season when it restarts, and thanks for sharing those insights, Andy O'Sullivan.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks, Andy.
Bye-bye.